So I've been asked to make a tutorial on one of my self-help exercises. It's a great way to heal our prejudices and projections of others. So the way you start off is with 6 columns, and I'll zoom in on the names. So the first column is the pet peeve or the prejudice that you might have on someone, and I chose people who lie. The second column is what people who lie think of you, so the person who has the prejudice, how you think they think of you. The third column is the most extreme case of column 1. The fourth one is the most extreme case of column 2. The fifth one is a tiny dose of column 1. And the sixth one is suppressed self. And I'll explain more as we go along. So let's uncover the first one. So for the sake of the video, I chose to write down only 4. And you can write down as many as you want, but just so you know that all of the columns will have to be very balanced. So if you have 4, then write 4 or 5 on all of the other ones. If you have 10, then write 10, 9, 11 in all of ones. You just want them all to be balanced. So in the first column, I wrote down people who lie are rude, manipulative, unreliable, and selfish. And the second column, I wrote down how I think they would think of me. So I wrote down that they would think I'm controlling, that I'll judge them, or that I'm judgmental, that I'll attack them. So if they tell the truth, that I would attack them, or they would be afraid of me or what I'll say if they tell the truth. So you can see that I've picked 4 to match the 4 here. Okay, so the third one is the most extreme case of column 1. So the way this works is that you look at the first point you have on column 1. So I picked rude. Okay, so then you would self-reflect and ask, what is the most extreme version of rude? And I said harassment. And then for manipulative, the second one I picked was sociopath. The third one, for unreliable, I picked as self-abusive. And the fourth one, selfish, I picked narcissist. And these don't have to make sense logically. A lot of this really digs into more subconscious beliefs. So if it makes sense to you, then write it down. It's not supposed to be right or wrong. This is only what you think, and this is what you feel. So if it makes sense to you, then choose that one. And then we do the same thing in the fourth column. So for this one, I picked controlling. So the most extreme case I came up with being controlling is being a slave owner. For the second one, judgmental, I picked, so the most extreme version of judgmental, I picked the Judeo-Christian God, so like the God that judges if you go to hell when you die, pretty much. And I wanted to distinguish that because there's so many different ideas of what God is, so I chose to be specific for the sake of the video. The third one on here was I'll attack them. So the most extreme case scenario of someone attacking, I chose the devil. And for the fourth one, so they'll be afraid of me or what I'll say, I chose demons. because, you know, there's the demons that whisper in your ear. So being afraid of what someone says or how they see you. So that's what made sense to me, and so then that's what I picked. Then the fifth one is a tiny dose of column 1. So this one is probably the trickiest one. So take your time with it, and you don't have to rush this. You don't have to do this fast. It took me a while to make this for this video, so don't feel like there's a time limit. Take your time with this. So for column 5, what you do is you look at column 1. And so for the first one, you ask yourself, okay, so for number 1, rude, I'd ask myself, if I was a little bit more rude in my life, how would that improve it? How would that improve my life? So I picked, so if I was a little bit more rude, I would speak my mind no matter what, and I'd have a confident voice. The second one was manipulative, and I said if I was a little bit more manipulative, I would be a strong leader. As in persuasive. Leaders are very persuasive, so I'd be a very persuasive person. And I could use that to benefit humanity. Like I could be persuasive for a beneficial cause. The third one is unreliable. And for unreliable, so if I was a little bit more unreliable, I would feel comfortable for changing my mind. I would have a really flexible mind. So I wouldn't be so rigid with my belief systems, and I would be open to changing my mind if that feels like the right choice to do. And the last one I picked, selfishness. And for selfish, let's see, I picked, I said, if I was a little bit more selfish in my life, I would pamper myself. I would allow myself to enjoy luxury. And so then the last column is your suppressed self. And your suppressed self is all of column 5. So you'd look at column 5 and you would list all of these traits and imagine one person with every single one of these traits. One person who is all of them. What kind of person is that? And so for me, I came up with a self-respecting leader or guide. So that's the part of me that I was suppressing, was this. And it was triggered by the lie, by the person who lies. So by seeing the person who lies, I think all of these thoughts about them, right? And what I'm actually really triggered by is that I'm afraid of being these things. I'm afraid of harassing. I'm afraid of being a sociopath, self-abusive, and a narcissist. And so because I'm afraid of these things, anything that reminds me of these traits, so rude, manipulative, and so on, any of these things will be rejected. So like if I see someone else with them, I would reject them if I haven't healed. If I don't heal from the wounds that I have or the fear of being this kind of person, then this is going to bother me. And so by doing this, we can really take the things that have been bothering you, the things that you say are not okay to be, and you can make it okay because you can transform them into something that is something more acceptable for you. So now that you've done this, it'll be a lot more acceptable, or it won't bother you as much when you come across someone who does your pet peeve. So if you have time or want to do more, then there's a little bit more that you can do. So on the back, you can write 2 columns. So this one is ways I've been suppressing myself, and you'd write no more than 5. The second one is ways I can express myself, or ways I can express my suppressed self, and you would do 5 or more. And I'm not going to go over these right now. If if you'd like another video on this, then I could do that. And then another thing that you could do once you're all done is that you can paint over it. You can paint over any of these, and it's really symbol for transformation. When you paint over something, you're transforming it. And something else that helps you let go of the exercise. Then you're not thinking about it constantly, and it's not on your mind all of the time. It's very symbolic. You don't have to paint. You could do a collage, or just anything that you feel inspired to do is acceptable. So that is that, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.